I think we've all heard the phrase, buy local, think global. Buy local, but think global. We know exactly what that means. It means if we want to impact our nation and then impact the world, we have to start locally. We need to invest in our homes and invest in our communities, invest in those around us. And if we do that, then we can see the result of that investment spreading well beyond our ability to really reach people. We can reach people that we could never touch on our own because we start local. It's a great concept. It has applications really across the sciences. We could talk about this in many different settings. But I want to look at it from a perhaps different perspective today. When we consider the many problems we're having as a society right now, the cultural upheaval and so much disruption in just about every area of life, we tend to think global. We look at everything from the big picture. We see how out of control everything is, and we ask the question, how can we stop what's happening? Sometimes we then look to our politicians, we look to those who seem to be in control or in power, and we ask, how can they stop what's happening? How can they restore order? How can they get us back to the place where we'd all really like to be? Instead of shopping local, we only think global. I believe as we look at so much of these issues, so many of these problems, we, though, need to flip that upside down. We need to understand that the problems we're experiencing culturally and the problems we're experiencing even globally are problems that begin at home. Specifically today, there's an issue that we so often overlook that has impacted every area of life. That's the issue of the role of the Father. We could spend many hours talking about the role of the Father and why the Father is important, but what we're experiencing right now to a large degree is that locally we have forgotten how important the Father is in the home, and we're experiencing societal, cultural, and global implications. We're seeing men and women who are raised without a father figure in their home, without the guide that a father should be. We're seeing them act out on what they believe to be true because they've come to these conclusions on their own. The role of the father has always been and should be to provide stability in the home, to provide direction to a young person who's growing up in a confusing world, to give them the parameters and the guides they need to make the right decisions when they get out on their own. I often say that as a parent, my job is very, very simple. It's to raise kids who can leave my home and go out into the world and serve well. You see, that's the role of the father. And when we denigrate the role of the father, when we say that it's not important, when we stop believing that a father's role in the home is to guide the family and guide the children and build those children up into good citizens, then what we reap globally is what we're experiencing right now. Why? Because the problems we experience as a culture are problems that grow from the tree of the local. They start at home. Again, we could spend much more time on this, but I'll make one simple statement. If we want to fix a broken culture, we need to start in the home, and the place to start in the home is with the father. If you are a father, take that role seriously. Take your responsibility to lead and guide and mentor and direct your children, to raise them up. Take it as seriously as you possibly can. Be a man that they could emulate. Be a father that they could go to. And if you're not a father, support those who are. Support those who are doing the hard work of setting themselves aside and leading our culture into the next generation. We need to buy local. That's to build where we are, so that as we think global, we can impact a world well beyond our reach. And it all begins with Dad.